Welcome back to Beefy Boys Breakdown, episode 132. We have finally arrived at the main card, and pretty dope main card, especially when you factor in like how it all played out. We got some like uber violent finishes and multiple fights. We got bonuses. We got, I mean, what some were saying is like the number one contender fight at flyweight. Like, and I kind of don't disagree with it.
I think potential robberies are up. I think potential year-end award candidates are here. As far as like maybe a KO of the year,
Maybe a sub of the year, bro.
maybe a
I was
sub of the
impressed as
year,
fuck.
maybe also me eating the biggest bag of dicks in a flyweight fight that I tried to predict.
Hey, I ate some flyweight dicks myself too. Plenty of them, multitude. There was a flyweight bukkake going
At least
on
they're
at the sports
small.
book. Dude,
Gotcha,
Kaikar
Tim
Prince,
Elliott.
that
Gotcha.
hog. Oh, poor guy.
Poor guy,
guy.
Gina Mazzani.
Poor,
If you don't know, look
poor
up those two
guy.
names. It'll explain itself.
Oh, yikes.
Anyway, we'll jump to welterweight. I think that was a great transition, smooth as ever, just like you know us to be. We got Abu Bakar, Nurmagomedov, cousin of Habib, minus 120, kind of old. I think he's like what 36 or something. Fighting Elizeu
He's
Zaleski
33.
dos Santos.
Bukabar, I do this
33,
every
okay.
time. Abu Bakar. He's
Yeah.
33.
Abu Bakar.
Well, he
That
fights
this
like
guy.
slow and old.
That is this
Yeah, no,
guy.
this is the guy. This is about to be Chael Fest over here. Like Abu Bakar. Every time I say it, it's gonna be a new pronunciation. So just brace yourselves, people.
Have you ever heard how DC says his name?
No, or maybe I have.
It's like the best. Like, it's no way it's the right pronunciation, but it works for DC, right? Calls him Abu
Yeah.
Bakr.
Abu Bakr. Yeah, I mean, mine as well. It's better than a buka bar, but check out the hookah bar. But I'll stop freestyling here. We got Nurmagomedov. How's that easier to say? Jesus Christ! You know it's a bad like when Nurmagomedov is, but also that speaks to how famous and successful Khabib was. You got millions of Americans to learn how to say Nurmagomedov.
Yeah,
Like it's
well,
not even a
like-
hard name to say anymore. Like.
yeah, Nurmagomedov. Like,
But like, remember when he first came out?
oh,
and
dude, it was
Joey
like
Diaz, Khabib, and,
Nurmagomedov.
but he was so
Nurmagomedov.
good. He's so good and so famous that like we fucking got with the program. It's crazy. And then taking on, you said Elizeu dos Santos. Maybe there's another name in there. Maybe
I was
if
gonna
not,
say,
we'll go by EDS.
Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos is also a very
Is he-
difficult name.
Is he like part Ukrainian, part Brazilian? What's going on here?
The ski, he's just Pole. His dad's just a Pole.
Dude, but I mean, honestly, this fight, Abu Bakar has like one of the snooziest styles. He's like how I used to feel about Roman Dolidze when I hated his guts. That's kind of how I feel about Abu Bakar. Like he just like even when he's having success, like as a fan, I'm not having success. Like
I'm gonna throw out a name, okay, and I want you to tell me if you think that like similar or am I just like crazy? Magomed Ankalaev. I think they're super like.
bro, Ankalaev's striking is so much better and has like his kicks are so legit that would be like disrespectful.
That's fair.
No, I mean he does find himself in some snoozy like fights, and so I mean I get where you're coming from, but I do like I'd rather watch Ankalaev fight any day. But like I get like I said, snoozy Dolidze is what comes to mind for me.
Oh
Just like
yeah, Snooze Master Jalidze definitely reminds me of
like
very
back
much.
before he decided to stop fucking around.
Now,
But
oddly enough, Dos Santos, exact opposite. Wants to be at range, wants to throw fun kicks and strikes. I definitely like Dos Santos.
bro, man, this guy's good, bro. He's 36, and I think he had to serve like a PED suspension, robbed him of some time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Robbed him, huh?
you know, fucking travesty. But like, but man, the skill set is so legit, and like you look at the guy, like so he's 10-3 in the UFC, like that's impressive, bro. Like, I'm to the point where like. Fuck your overall record. Like, what's that UFC record? Maybe if you fought in Bellator
Facts.
or one, we'll count those two. But
Mhm.
PFL, whatever. But you see what I'm saying here. But like 10-3 in the UFC, like that's nothing to sneeze at, bro. Like that's up there with some. That
Now,
matches some legit names.
now I gotta ask you: did you see the thing that UFC Roster Watch added?
No, no, no.
There's
What's
another
wrong again?
bot that now comments every time that a fighter's added, and it gives you the aggregated. It's like a Chat GPT bot, right? So it aggregates the fighter's record and where they've fought and tells you like a quick like 2 sentences of like their whole MMA record and like what leagues it takes place in and what their record is in those leagues.
Bro, yeah, like
Super helpful,
so
honestly. I was like, oh,
so helpful.
Because like they showed Muin Gafurov, so they list a picture of him. The bot does, and then it lists like his one record, his Bellator record, his amateur record, and then it has like his country.
I was about to say, I mean, like most people, I'm a little nervous about AI, and I'm a little ignorant about AI, like most people. But that being said, the only way I've interacted, because I've never fucked around on ChatGPT, like I honestly like staying away from it. But like my only interaction with AI is on Twitter. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's fucking cool, man.
Dude, UFC
like,
Roster Watch is
it makes
fantastic.
Twitter better.
It's
It
fantastic.
makes Twitter better, like for sure. Like I'm a fan. Like we'll see what the downsides are in 15 years if we still exist. But like,
Probably not.
Twitter's cool. Twitter's cool, man. You know what I'm saying? Man, honestly, like let's go round by round here because, like, honestly, I have a weird scorecard here. Like I have a scorecard that I don't think really anybody agrees with.
All right. Well, let's hear it. So I have the first round right. I thought that Abubakar did enough to win the round, honestly. And I was saying that really didn't do a whole lot. It's just that he rocked Dos Santos at the start of the round with like 2 good punches, and then essentially Dos Santos spent like 2 minutes to recover and like fully get back to himself, and it was kind of against the fence being neutralized until the end of the round, where he did close out very strong. But I just thought that, I mean, damage, like, the 2 most important strikes in the round were definitely the first 2.
Yes, but then 0 damage following. Honestly,
Agreed.
I'll give the overall damage in the round to Dos Santos for like those knees to the body kicks. Those were all pretty goddamn legit, and there was way more of them, like probably tenfold, right? I mean, and yeah, so I mean, as I went Dos Santos, it was a close round. Like I have the equal amount of notes for each guy. I just like Dos Santos had the clinch knees, the body kicks, and he stuffed a couple of takedowns, which resulted in the snoozy clinch for Abubakar. And those 2 shots at the beginning of the round were huge, but then fuck off for the next 4.5 minutes. I like EDS's like body of work with the clinch knees and the kicks and the stuffing, the takedowns. He was controlled along the fence, and he did eat those 2 bombs. It was a close round. Like there's definitely an argument for each, but I think as the round went on, I thought Dos Santos was able to do more, but you're not a crazy man.
It's so weird, right? Because like by the end of the first round, I knew Dos Santos was probably the better fighter, and it was looking like it, but I just aggregated it into essentially going to Nurmagomedov for the impact of the strikes and the control, and like I know damage wise he probably lost slightly, but I mean it's so much control. It's like 3 minutes of control he amassed. To the point where I'm like, okay, well, that'll outweigh a slight damage lead. But it was snoozy control.
We like to make our MMA football kind of references. We both come from a football background. Like, Abubakar's style reminds me of like a Navy triple option. Like, It's steady, it's effective, it's hard to prepare for, but like, ain't nobody trying to watch that shit, at their local sports bar. And
it's not going to go undefeated.
It's snoozy. No, it's not going to go undefeated. It's not going to win a natty, but like you're going to go 7-4 and be a tough out every week, and like be like it's just steady, and you're going to run the ball 64 times. Like I don't know, dude, because he's going to snoozy clinch you. He's going to wing a couple bombs. He's going to maybe go for a couple takedowns, but doesn't even really care if he gets him. He's just trying to wear on you and get his hands on you. It's one of my least favorite styles to watch. And Dos Santos, like I said, exciting, action fighter. When he started stuffing the takedowns, I was like, all right, we got to fight here. But we'll keep it pushing to round 2, which I actually thought was closer than round one, as close as round one was. We're anxious to see how we score this one. I went Dos Santos again. Once again, damage. Once again, activity. Nurmagomedov got that trip takedown late in the round, and was snoozy with it. But he did get the takedown, and he did end the round on top, I do believe. And so once again, not a crazy person if you gave that one to Nurmagomedov either. I struggled to kind of. This is a real bad optic to end the round, with Nurmagomedov on top of you. But the first 4 minutes of the round, Dos Santos was pretty much piecing him up. Like nothing crazy landed, right? No knockdowns or anything. So just tough to score.
Yeah,
I went Dos Santos again.
So oddly enough, in this one, Nurmagomedov didn't land two big punches, and I thought Zaleski Dos Santos actually was able to open up his offense more, defended a lot of takedown attempts. Like Abukabar was just blindly shooting at points, and it was like getting to the point where I was like, okay, he is not gonna win this fight. Like for some reason, I resolved myself to that. Now, like you said earlier, that steady triple option, like just whenever you think like, oh, I got it figured out. That's when you're like, fuck, they just hit me for 80 up the middle.
Yep.
Now, that being said, scored the second round to Dos Santos. I know the optic of Nurmagomedov on top at the end is bad. However, I think Dos Santos did more than enough to win that round. Close round, cool. But I think Dos Santos did more than enough.
Where are the judges at? Do you have that pulled up?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked.
I'm curious. Through two, I'm curious.
So, Ron McCarthy scored the first round to Dos Santos, while Brian Miner and Derek Cleary scored the first round to Nurmagomedov, right? Now, here's where it gets weird.
It's not horrible.
In round two, Ron McCarthy, who scored the first round to Dos Santos, scored the second round to Abubakar. And he's the only, and then Derek Cleary, who scored one to Abubakar, scored two to Abubakar as well.
That makes a little more sense, at least, right? If you're liking Abubakar's takedowns and his clinch and stuff, then at least the logic's there to you're being consistent. To give round one to Dos Santos and round two to Abubakar, to me, doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, that one doesn't make much sense. I think giving what I did and Brian Miner did is that Abubakar in round one, and then Dos Santos in round two.
And I liked your logic. It made sense. The two bombs were really the swaying, tipping the scale factor. And
I'd openly admit that Dos Santos probably had a better round as a fighter, but just ate two bombs, which offset him for 2 minutes. So in that recovery and damage, it was just tough for him. Anyway, we keep it pushing here to round three. Scores being 19-19 on Ron McCarthy's card and Brian Miner's card. Derek Cleary has Abubakar up 20.
So nobody had my scorecard. That's why I said I had a weird scorecard. I have both. I have 2018 Dos Santos right here.
All right. Well, let's see how you score the third.
Well, the third, I think the third's not controversial. I thought it was Dos Santos' best round of the fight. By far won the damage, really teeing off on the leg kicks. Those clinch knees went from the body to the head, which I thought was a nice little adjustment in the third round. Pretty effective. A lot of damage, obviously. And but there was a point in the round where Nurmagomedov took his back, but fuck that. You got kneed in the face.
So took his back, but only had it for 15 seconds and didn't keep him down. Stood up and was on his back and was too tired to hang out there. So credit to Dos Santos for having clearly his cardio looked better. Now as well, I wrote down that Nurmagomedov only landed one good strike in the round, and it was a sick body kick. It did shake the sound was nasty, but Dos Santos ate it and landed a bunch of his own stuff, and he continued to defend takedowns rather well. So, to me, I scored it to Dos Santos. I didn't think it was that hard to score.
I thought it was the easiest round to score of the whole fight.
Yeah, every judge scored it to Dos Santos as well. Now, I don't know if you caught it, but at the end, Dos Santos was throwing in a 4-piece combo, and the bell sounded right as he was letting number 2 go. And he just let 3 and 4 keep going, and hit Nurmagomedov with one that it was horn, and then hit, right? That timing. So it was probably late, you know what I'm saying? And Nurmagomedov stood up and fucking slapped the piss out of Dos Santos.
Damn, I honestly must have missed that. I don't know if I was grabbing a drink or taking a piss or what, but I missed that.
He slapped the piss out of him. Dos Santos looked at him and was like, all right. and just like walked away. I was like, damn, yeah, ate that well.
Yeah, no, that was kind of a theme. Yeah, Felipe wins, and then this. There was a lot of late shots and kind of a weird trend in that card Saturday evening. So yeah, I ended up with the 30-27 Dos Santos card, which nobody else did, and maybe I'm on an island here, but like I feel like my logic kind of made some sense. Like
I
feel
think
like
it's closer to Dos Santos 30-27 than it is to Abubakar 29-28. I'd put it that way.
Yes, I agree with that statement, which obviously I agree with that statement because I'm the one with the 30-27. But, like, yeah, no, I'm
but like
glad.
I said, like, round one's a coin flip for me, and 2 and 3 are Dos Santos. So it's like, if I'm saying that, then, like, I'm clearly closer to the 30-27 than I am. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see how Abubakar wins 2. I don't see how he wins rounds 1 and 2. Round 1 I can see. Round 2 I can't.
Yeah, and round 1 and 2 were pretty close. Granted, thank God the right man won. Dos Santos plus 100 catches, split decision. Now, that's a fight I don't think any Beefy boys bet that. Or Michael might have hit that one, maybe.
Yeah, I think Michael did hit that one.
But yeah, neither of us bet that fight. And honestly, I feel like we were right not to. It was a split decision. Could have kind of gone either way.
And that was like
the money line was razor close.
That was a fight that was up for some judge fuckery, as I'm going to refer to it from here on out. Just because stylistically so different, and like one of those things where the rounds were weirdly paced as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, man, all right, we'll keep it pushing into this next one. The next fight, we got some women's flyweights up. Karine Silva making her debut, taking on Karine Silva. And it was crazy because this is another one that we did not bet. However, I did my verdict picks after I went to the sports book. So like I did a little bit of just brief Tapology research before my verdict picks for like the fights that I didn't bet.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I was doing my verdict research, I was like, why the fuck did this isn't hindsight 2020. I was like, I definitely like Karine Silva here at minus 200. Like that was definitely like a parlay builder. Because like Karine Silva is the grappler, and then Souza wins almost all her fights by decision or KO, no subs, and then Silva every goddamn buddy, in different types of subs too. Like her fucking Tapology. I mean, I'm just not even gonna name the opponent. Just going through Darce choke, guillotine, armbar, heel hook.
Damn, she gets
triangle choke. Just sub after sub after sub.
Those were all different.
Like goddamn, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight win streak coming into this one. Granted, 1 contender series, 1 UFC fight, but yeah, she hasn't gone past the second round in the contender series or UFC yet. And I don't know. I just when I picked this one right on verdict, and I was kind of kicking myself in the ass for not betting, and that was before the fight even took place. I don't know why. I just overlooked this fight as a whole, which as a bettor, that's shame on me. I guess I was kind of betting as a fan. I don't know. I just wasn't that like into this fight, but goddamn did it deliver.
Let's see. This will be interesting to note. Let's see what Caesars gave by submission. Silva by submission. Plus 500. Karine Silva by submission. Making sure I'm reading this right. Wins by I read Silva by KO. Okay, Jesus Christ. Silva by submission. Plus 195.
Still though.
Still
good.
Still good.
Oh, fucking regurd. Oh, better's remorse.
And a parlay too, a plus 200 would be so sauce. Especially as one that you're like, that's pretty much a lock.
Yeah, if she's gonna win, it's gonna be by sub, and she's minus 200 to win. It's like Vegas gave us that one.
Yeah, so like Vegas is saying she's gonna win, and if I can say that she's gonna win by sub, I can make money, Vegas.
Yeah, man, regrets, hard regrets, and I think you can tell where we're going with this. I mean, the fight only lasts 1 minute and 45 seconds. Karine Silva pretty much just jumps on the legs. What was it like? Kind of like a scramble, right? And then
Well, she was like working from top position to try and get passes and all kinds of different stuff, right? And then she got up, almost like standing above Souza. And as soon as she stood up, like Souza kind of let her leg, so like, guard was up, kind of like let her legs fold down. And like Silva just like saw it and threw her legs around it and fell backwards.
Just jumped on it, almost like you would an arm bar, which makes sense because this was a knee bar. So, but kind of like you would jump on an arm bar, but she jumped on the knee.
It was really like weird though, because she said she was trying to go for a heel hook and didn't get her arm right. So when she looked up, she saw the leg was like weirdly pinched, and she was like, so I just torqued it inside, and it just popped instantly.
It wasn't like the typical. The knee bar typically is to like hyperextend. Like if this is the knee, my wrist bends this way. A knee bar typically is trying to get the submission via hyperextension. She was putting the torque sideways.
Yeah,
and you see it in slow mo explode.
It was tough.
It was like.
To her credit, she did say that she like felt the pop and let it go. And if you watch the film back, you can see it pop, and she like literally like releases the pressure. So
but did it ever pop?
God,
did it ever?
Oh,
pop?
And Souza immediately rolled back like, oh God, it's over. My knee's done.
It happened so quick, and God damn it, I just wish in these situations Bisping would just shut the fuck up because, generally speaking, I don't have a problem with Bisping's commentary. Twitter was pretty harsh on him over the weekend, but I think this was in one of those situations where he was like speaking over Lorisenko, who understood the position better than him, and then and then he would be like, just say some cliche shit like. Well, she doesn't look to be in danger yet, but obviously that can change at any moment. And it's just let it kind of play out, man. Honestly, Bisping I like him as a personality. I like Believe You Me. I like, some of his takes and I don't know. I like him as a guy. I like him as a fighter. Sometimes when it comes to the grappling and wrestling, he does need to take a seat back, whether it's DC, whether it's Lorisenko. You're not a grappler, bro. And obviously he trains jiu-jitsu and he's more of a grappler than me. But what I'm just saying is he's staunchly anti-grappling, and Lorisenko understands those positions very well and explains them. I was trying to hear what she had to say, and I don't know. Bisping just kind of fucked this one up.
I think it's the nature of his training and fight style, right? He was a guy that was super good on the feet, can break down the feet very well. I'm not going to take that away from him. When guys are on the feet and striking, he is great. However, when they go to the ground, he is down a peg, and instead of just sitting back and letting the person with grappling prowess speak on it, he always wants to interject. And furthermore, he'll even interject and say something like, he should just get up here. And then sometimes that person pulls a sub off from bottom, and you got old DC sitting there like, yeah, Bisping, I don't know about that one. Or Paul Felder's there he might have a sick guard. You don't know.
Yes, it is. Just because that worked for Bisping doesn't mean every fighter needs to have that approach.
Yeah, he preaches his actual game plan that he used like it's the best way to fight. And it's dude, everyone's different and has different skill sets. If they're a jiu-jitsu ace, they can be on their back. Johnny Munoz could be on his back and still have,
if it's Francis Ngannou on his back, sure, yeah, let's try to get up here. And that, I feel that partly comes into research and knowing the guys you're talking about.
They're supposed to do research and have fighter meetings to interview the fighters, and the commentators, in all honesty, should be some of the most knowledgeable people about the sport.
Which Bisping is knowledgeable of the sport, but just specific grappling positions and submissions and transitions. I just take a back seat. Let Lorisenko just kind of take the reins here. But we spent more time talking about Bisping than Karine Silva, which is a damn shame because that arm bar or that knee bar was devastating. There was knockouts on this card that were violent, but that was probably the grossest moment of the fight. Also, what else is gross? No bonus.
What the hell is that?
Worthy, that might be in our sub of the year category.
Yeah.
No bonus for it is just salty. Hopefully, there's a Dana Duffel, but. I mean that's so. I mean, a minute and 45 seconds into the first round, like even if it was a pure jiu-jitsu match, like a sub at a minute and 45
Oh,
is
it's
so
so
hard.
quick.
Like in
Well,
any like
and also she's only minus 200. It's not like she was minus 900. It's not like we
yeah
just knew
yeah
she was going to win the fight.
yeah, not Jalton Almeida out here, but like
I mean,
yeah no, I mean
and I would also say like Jim Miller minus 245. Like he was more of a favorite. Not to give away any bonuses.
no, but seriously, that's what I was getting at here. This is every bit as devastating as Jim Miller's finish. What is? I mean, whatever. It's been a couple of days now. I did, but like, yeah, no, right? Like, I mean, that was a $50,000 submission, man. I don't give a fuck what Dana says. Like,
I agree
that was.
with
I mean,
that.
like I said, I want to like literally bookmark this for sub of the year talk. Like
Oh, I
the
have it written. I
quickness,
have it
the
written in there.
violence. Like it's because it wasn't just it's a rare submission. I think it was like the fifth leg lock or knee bar in women's history.
And
A
then it was
minute and
like
45 into the first, like even Charlie Owens doesn't do that. Like a minute and 45 into the first is nuts.
and it was like a
Especially
modified
considering,
knee bar too. It wasn't just like a
yes, it was a
straight leg lock
rare,
or ankle lock or any of that. It was like a modified knee bar.
violent and devastating, modified, like unique sub, a minute and 45. And it wasn't one of those things where like she almost knocked her out and then sunk in a choke. It was like, it went from everything's good to everything's not good in a split second. And man, I'm high on Karine Silva. You know what I mean? She didn't get $50,000, but she got a new fucking fan. I'll tell you that much. I'm juiced on her next fight. I'm juiced for her in this division. I mean, you got to think like the old generation of like grapplers were like Modafferi and like they were like Karine Silva's at like an athletic level that girls like that never were. Like she's an athlete in there. She's a big 125er. She's athletic. I mean, she's undefeated. She's 2-0 in the UFC, +1 in the contender series, 6-fight win streak, I think 7-fight win streak after this one. I mean, until proven otherwise, she's legit in my eyes, like dead ass. Like, I mean, I don't have really a negative thing to say. And I mean, you could argue it's against a debut girl who is more of a striker, so that's a kind of an easy matchup. But Vegas didn't think so. Minus 200, like you said, not like it's Jalton Almeida.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean. And I do wonder, do you think Vegas puts more respect on it the next time she comes out because of this? Or do you think this is what maybe they kind of thought could be a potential case?
Well, I'll put it this way, bro. Miranda Maverick, I was looking ahead to next week's card. Miranda Maverick fights on next week's card, I think on like the early prelims. She's the 15th ranked flyweight. She's like a minus 400 favorite or something, which I might fade her. Like I'm not that high on
Yeah,
Maverick.
who's she at minus
And
400 over?
we can look it up, but I don't remember. But like, she's like a huge, huge favorite. And I mean, bro, Maverick versus Silva, like give me Silva. I'll put it that way. I don't know if that's a hot take or like maybe I'm just nut riding, maybe I'm hype training here.
Oh,
But like,
Maverick's minus 300 against Jasmine Jasdavicius. I'll take Jasdavicius plus 240. I'll take that. That's kind of juicy. Probably
right?
should
Like
be
I'm not
closer
that
to like
high on
plus
Maverick.
180.
That's what I'm thinking. And then, but I'm just saying, like, hypothetical 2K simulator. Maverick likes to wrestle, grapple. All right, go ahead and go fucking get on the mat with Karine Silva. See how that goes with you. That's how I'm feeling. Maybe I'm caught in the moment, prisoner of the moment. What's your thoughts on that take?
I'm okay with it. I think Karine Silva has a lot to bring to the division. Now, I don't know about her striking necessarily, so if
Yeah,
you put her
we
with a
haven't
girl
really
that can
seen
just
it
pick her
tested.
apart, but that's kind of the right test, I would say.
And there's not girls that can pick her apart on the feet, so you get higher in the rankings. Like who? Like a Hebus would be probably a little issue on the feet.
Oh
But
yeah.
I mean, anybody. I mean, you got a bunch of grapplers at the back end of flyweight. You got. I mean, I don't think like what Andrea Lee, Casey O'Neill, Macy Barber, Arujo.
Flyweight's deep
Like
though too is kind of a problem.
it's deep. Oh, it's deep. It's talented. I love women's flyweight, but I'm just talking about the back end, like 13 through 15. I think Karine Silva's on that level. I'll say it.
I think she's close to it, if not there.
Close
You know
to
what I
it.
mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like would be competitive fights, but we can keep it pushing here, man. Actually, real quick, you can introduce this next one if you don't mind. I'm gonna grab me a long drink.
Yeah, I'll introduce it after I ask you one question.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I know. How the fuck did Mike Malott versus Adam Fugit get the featured spot on this pay-per-view coming up? Are you shitting me?
Oh, are you just now seeing this for the first time?
Nate Landwehr and Dan Ige fight before Mike Malott and Adam Fugit.
It's out of line. It really
Are
is
you
out of line.
fucking kidding me?
Like I'll say both sides here. They're
What?
in Canada. They're in Canada. Mike Mallet, I do
Fuck
believe, has like
off.
star power and is a dope prospect. And like I like Mike Mallet. My problem, hear me out here. Hear me out. I'm coming full circle here. My problem is the B side. Fugit. Like I don't
Right.
have a problem.
Who's he
Yeah, like
fighting?
if that was a heater, like if you're telling me it's against Neil Magny or it's against, I mean, even a fucking like Simmelsberger, like anybody, like I mean, if it was against Michelle Pereira or Jack Miller Delena, I mean, just literally anybody that fucking mattered at all. Like, there's even people I'm like blanking on. Like, there's like a lot of welterweight like fights that make a lot. Hell, Kevin Holland's unranked.
Yeah.
Joaquin Buckley, like these
Yeah.
guys that like kind of matter, like not top flight guys, but like kind of matter somewhat. Like I'm
I
not
mean,
even mad at it. Like I'm not even mad at Mike Mallet is what I'm getting at. But Mallet versus Fugit, I have a huge problem with. Mallet versus one of those other names that actually fucking does something for me. I'll hear you out. But
here's
like
here's
Mal,
what
yeah, sorry.
here's all I'm saying is if they're gonna do this with Mike Mallet like this, he better fight someone like Ian Gary in his next 2 or 3 fights.
Yes,
Like he better
which they
not get any
maybe that's what
jokes.
they're building towards, and I just like and it's nothing about like Fugit. Like Fugit could fucking win the fight. Who knows? But like I'm just saying, like name value wise, for $80, you got to give me more than Fugit.
Yeah, you gotta
Mallet,
give
I
me
kind of get. I
fuck.
kind of get it in Canada, like selling tickets at the arena.
Yeah,
Like
but
I
let me
kind
see
of
him
get.
fight someone that's worth seeing.
Yes, that like yes, like times 1,000. Yes, like I said, a Buckley, a Holland, a fucking somebody I've heard
It's
of.
almost like with Patty when they do the can crushing shit. Like I just can't respect it.
Yeah, and now it doesn't have the star power of Patty, so it's like yeah, it's like a Patty versus Can from Canada Wish. Like
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, what the
yeah.
fuck? Anyway, we can keep it pushing here to
No, yeah,
the
yeah.
flyweights. Number 11, Tim Elliott, defending his rank, minus 190, fighting Victor Altamirano, plus 160. Me and D-Mac were high on Altamirano.
Yeah,
Michael
I'm gonna
was
use
not.
my losing parlay ticket as a spoon to fucking shovel
Smart.
my shit because I was just jerking off Altamirano all week. I mean, I was like excited to bet on him, like literally, like couldn't wait to rush to the window and put my money on Altamirano. I was in the group chat trying to convince people to bet on Altamirano. Like, I mean, I was so bullish that
I
like
did.
that's
I
the
put
thing
him
about
on
me.
there.
That's the thing about me. Like when I'm wrong, I'll stick my chest out and eat it. Like big fan of Altamirano as a prospect. We got striker versus grappler. We got young versus old. We got guy where things are going real good for him, and versus a guy where things are not going real good for him. I like everything about Altamirano. Now, granted, Vegas didn't. I mean, Altamirano was a plus 150, so I mean, not a huge underdog. Elliott is ranked 11, which is pretty high. So like, if you thought unranked prospect versus 11th ranked guy in the division, I mean, minus 175, that is what it should look like. I thought it was going to be a changing of the guard.
Well,
I thought it was going to be, I thought he was going to be able to catch Elliott with something.
let me ask you like a sports psychology based question, right? So the reason I was so against Tim Elliott is he's going through a divorce, got cheated on, or his wife cheated on with one of his teammates, who was also one of
Oh,
who was also the minister at his wedding.
yes, disgusting.
It's tough. It's
Disgusting.
tough, and he
The
has a daughter,
worst.
and he has a daughter of Gina Mazzani who cheated. It's terrible. Anyway, going
Like,
through all
she's a
that.
real fucking piece of shit.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
like, like her and Brett Favre are like in this fucking special circle of hell. Like,
oh yeah,
absolute scum human beings. Like, seriously, like,
yeah.
just
Tim Elliott's
so,
tweet exposed it pretty hard. It was pretty bad. Um, God, that was bad. Anyway, and then I see him tweeting about the day of the fight, mind you, day of the fight. The night before, he tweets a picture of himself at 125 on weight. He looks like
looking
he's
like
dead.
death.
Now, the
Yeah.
next day, 21 hours later, he tweets a picture of himself. Looks pretty good. Looks rehydrated. But also tweets, just before that picture, just griping, bitching, and moaning about how they have to fight at the Apex, and that he flew a bunch of people out to Vegas to watch him fight, and he didn't know that they weren't going to be able to hand out tickets to him. And to me, that sounded like a guy that wasn't really focused on the guy across from him, but more so about his actual presence in the cage.
Hey, that is fucking ridiculous, though. 7 tickets for. But granted, I think all this is a misconception about all sports. Like NFL players talk about it,
They
like
pay,
on Pat
they
McAfee
buy
stuff all the time. Yeah, like the tickets for players situation and NBA, NFL, all that is kind of a nightmare. Like that's like one of the players' biggest gripes, like in all sports.
You only get comps for your nuclear family and your mom and dad in the NFL. So like you get comps for your wife, kids, and mom and dad. That's it. Everything else has to be paid. But also you can pay for them.
It's like if you're George Kittle or one of these guys that like the jerseys, the stands are filled with your jersey. Like, give me some fucking tickets, dude. Because like
I'm bringing you money. Yeah, like
you're paying me $17 million a year and you're still turning a profit off of my name. Like,
facts.
Let me get a couple. Like, let me get $700 worth of tickets.
And I'm getting you W's.
Yeah, and Tim Elliott's been with the company a long time. Like,
eat a W.
Jameis Winston over here. But like, seriously, like, I don't know, bro. I guess maybe it's the former athlete in me or whatever. Like, I think that the tickets should be taken care of. I mean, obviously you can't have like 50 each, but like, what, 7 each or, however many, 5 each? Like, that's not too much to ask for. I don't know.
I fully agree, but I'm pretty sure the tickets are sold as like a fan experience. Like, it's like a VIP ticket that you're buying when you go to the Apex. So they're trying to obviously make money off of it because it's not many seats. But they are also, like, it is a very different atmosphere to watch a fight in. Like, watching a fight there, entirely different than in an arena. And Joe Rogan says it's the best way to watch a fight. So, like, essentially, I don't know. It does suck to fight in the Apex, but hey. And for Tim Elliott, he's number 11, so it's fucked. But he's just a flyweight. But hey, have a bigger name and you won't fight in the Apex. I'm just saying. That's fact.
That is true. That is true. That is. But yeah, man, the reason I guess we're beating around the bush here is
like, you think Connor's fighting in the Apex? Never in his life.
Neither is any other fighter that like truly matters. Yeah, I don't know. The Apex served its purpose during COVID and kept us entertained during COVID, but like however much they paid to build that, they've already made their money back.
Oh
like,
my God, so much.
So it's like, let's just like, or even like maybe like one Apex card a month for like all like prospects and like old vets, or like, I don't know, but like,
I really think they honestly want to move out of the Apex, but I think arenas are booked like fucking 6 to 8 months ahead of time. You know what I mean? So like, I think as we keep getting further away from COVID, the less we'll see the Apex.
Yeah, I agree, and that has been true. Like, we have seen it like less and less. There's more arena fight nights, but like, remember that one fight night they did? And it was an ABC card. I feel like I could be wrong, but it was at like an MGM, like just like a casino kind of ballroom. Like,
yeah, that was wasn't that the Oasis in the Palms or something like that?
Yes.
That is what it is. That is what it is. Or it was in the MGM. It was.
But I forget who was fighting. I forget who was fighting though. But regardless, that card, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
More of those.
Yeah.
Like, that was the perfect happy medium.
Because it was like what, 2,000 fans or something like that. Like, it wasn't like an arena.
2, 3.
But it wasn't like you could. You know what I'm saying? It's still an arena. It's still like fans.
Well, like, I just went wearing my merch right now. King of the Cage. They came to Reno. I was at the King of the Cage fights with the Silver Legacy. There was probably at least 500 seats in there, and that's at the Silver Lake. It was a small venue, but I mean, maybe more than 500, but around probably 500 seats in there. And I mean, it was packed. It was honestly kind of lit. Like, that's more than the Apex, and I'm saying, well, that's here in Reno. Like, Vegas probably has, 30 venues like that. Like, it doesn't have to be an arena, and it can even be in Vegas. But like, a 500-seat room, like a ballroom, like, you know what I mean, or something, like, just literally anything but the Apex, like literally anything.
Bro, even a place like the Criterion, like, would be cool to watch a fight, especially with the upper deck in the Criterion. Like, I'm saying that's 500 seats. You know, like, if you put seats around it and have the upper deck, like, maybe 400. But like a local promotion at a small arena, like, it's the way to do it.
No, for sure, bro. But yeah, like I said, we were talking about everything but the fight because this fight was honestly pretty one-sided and good for Tim Elliott, a guy who everything's going wrong in his life. Everything went right in the fight. I mean, part of that was so in round one, Altamirano was very active from the bottom. I mean, Tim Elliott's no mystery, has a wrestling style. He wants to get on top of you, tire you out, crazy pace, good wrestling, good grappling. That's Tim Elliott's style.
Good chin.
Good chin. I mean, in round one, Altamirano was active from the bottom with both strikes and sub attempts. But once again, we say this, it's almost like a curse when a fighter has success from the bottom in the first round. It's almost like a curse that comes back to bite you in the ass. Because in rounds 2 and 3, when you're more tired and it's easier to accept bottom position, you're like, oh, well, I can get away with this because I had some success from bottom in the first. And so it puts it in their mind that like bottom's not the worst place in the world to be. Like we've seen it happen almost every week. There's some fighter that has some mild success from the bottom in round one. And they spend round 2 and 3 on the bottom as well, because in their head you can tell they're thinking like, oh, I have a shot here from bottom. But in reality, it's the opposite. Whatever you got away with in round one, the other fighter and the other fighter's corner is like, oh, okay, this is what you need to look out for. And it doesn't usually happen again in rounds 2 and 3.
Right.
Like I'm speaking in vague terms here because, yeah, we're talking about Altamirano Elliott, but like we see it happen every week. Insert grappler A, we see it happen all the time where first round, some mild success from bottom, and then you spend round 2 and 3 on bottom because you think like, oh, I can maybe pull something off here. And that's what we saw here.
I 100% agree. I think that I scored every round of Tim Elliott. I didn't think that was that hard. Now, I will say round 3, at least Altamirano did start landing more shots. But my problem with Altamirano was that, like, he was landing... Wow, the only round they scored from was round 2. I just don't even
I was about to say that. I was about to say that. Altamirano landed 2 head kicks in round 2. It was definitely his best round.
Oh, and he got that takedown of his own.
Yeah. No, round 2, no, I still don't have the word close in my notes. I
didn't either. That's why I was confused.
No questions asked. But I did note down the 2 head kicks, and he got a takedown. Like, Altamirano in round 2 wasn't horrible. It's just, man, when Elliott would get on top, he would play bottom game. He never like, and this is where Bisping was actually right because Altamirano's a striker. Like,
well, he was also
get the fuck up.
He was also lighting Tim Elliott up on the feet and was hurting him a lot. Like Tim Elliott was like zombie walking through shots to get to a clinch, or like to try to transition to grappling. Like if Altamirano could have just had good footwork and pace and gotten on his bike and moved around, he could have lit Tim Elliott up the whole fight.
Yep. Or just got to his feet once, man. Every time he got taken down, it was a wrap. Like, he would just accept bottom position. I mean, he got up? Well, no, I say that because Tim Elliott got 2 takedowns in second and third, so you can't get a second takedown unless he gets up from the first. And, like, I don't know, man. Altamirano's like sense of urgency from bottom was just annoying throughout this fight. As somebody who bet on him, but more importantly, as somebody who believed in him, like as somebody who's a fan in him. Now, I think he still has a long, successful career. I think he's a guy at 125, but like, hopefully he learns that he can't stay on bottom against these wrestlers. Because if so, I mean, maybe it won't be a long, successful career. If he gets 3-4 L's in a row to wrestlers, just gets Kevin Holland. You know what I'm saying? They can go downhill fast.
Oh, yeah. Now, here's what's super unfortunate is we have to discuss what's next for Tim Elliott, and I hate that because I just don't really care about him. Now, here's what I will say. David Dvorak fights next week against a guy that's making his debut, Urseg.
Yeah, but somebody pulled out again on Dvorak, so I don't want to give him a hard time for that.
No, I'm just saying if he cleans up that guy, I mean, I think it's an easy fight, 10 versus 11.
I think it was Matt Schnell, if I'm not mistaken. I think Dvorak was supposed to fight Schnell. Could be wrong there, but I want to say it was Schnell, and Schnell pulled out. No, it was Nicolau. I think Nicolau pulled out, if I'm not mistaken. It was Schnell or Nicolau. Sorry.
Well, I mean, either way, though, all the other guys are booked. If it's, because I know Copp's booked. I know Albazi's is the headliner on this card. So
yeah.
You get it. And then Perez is booked as well. I mean,
who's not booked is Makayev, man.
Oh, God.
I don't know. He's been super cringe on Twitter, but he seems to be wanting to fight.
Are they going to feed Tim Elliott to Mikhail? No, because Makhayev's going to call for a top 10 matchup. He's not going to take anything outside 10.
No, Micaiah was making like homemade memes on Pixar with him and Tim Elliott, like during the
Oh,
fight.
really?
Granted, maybe he was on some Conor McGregor shit. Granted, I don't think Micaiah drinks because he's Muslim, but like he was like mid card. Like I was on Twitter active on the Beefy Boys at Beefy Breakdown. Give us a follow.
Yes, sir.
But like yeah, I was super active on Twitter during the fights, and he was like right after the fight, like making Pixar memes of him and Tim Elliott. Like he wants it.
All right, yeah, give it to him. I love it, and I don't like Tim Elliott at all, so punish him.
He's been punished enough. Sorry, couldn't help myself. But he gets the win. He's number 11. It's hard to make him. I mean, he just fought an unranked guy, though. Like the argument's there that he should get a chance to fight for it. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. I mean, flyweight's a weird division that the UFC treats like a fucking redheaded stepchild. So it's hard to fucking like what you could be said true for another division. Like if the number 11 ranked middleweight beats an undefeated guy, he's fighting Ford. But the UFC does like weird shit with flyweight, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, great point. It's almost like the women's featherweight, but we'll keep it pushing to men's lightweight, which is like the golden child. And here we have Jesse Butler making his debut on very short notice at plus 205 versus Jim Miller at minus 245.
This is another one where should have trusted my gut. I had like betters like second guessing myself energy.
I couldn't understand where Vegas was coming from. That's what made me second guess. It was like, why is Jim Miller not like minus 440 here?
1,000%. I thought the same thing, and I was like, well, I don't want to be a sucker here and just bet on the guy I've heard of because he's fighting a guy I've never heard of.
Right.
But I was like, Jim Miller against anybody making their debut, give me Jim Miller. I mean, essentially, right? I mean, there's always those freak upsets like the guy who beat Terrence McKinney, Bonfim. Like, there's these young studs you've never heard of. But, like, generally speaking, if like that's the only information I have to go off of, like, Jim Miller, all-time great lightweight, still not slowing down against guy making his debut, minus 200, like, just blindly betting, like, give me Jim Miller. That's what I was thinking literally at the little kiosk. I'm placing my bet. I'm like, why am I not betting on Jim Miller? And I was like, I got too deep. I was like, maybe there's a reason. Like, but I was just...
Oh, God. And then you see how this plays out. I mean, not to belabor the point, because Butler essentially walked around with Miller for, 15, 20 seconds, and then tried to trade with him for 6 seconds before he got absolutely cleaned off the face of the earth.
Yeah, I mean, and to this guy's credit, he came out like hot. Like, he wasn't fighting timid. He wasn't fighting scared. Like, this guy was kind of
smart either, though.
Was not fighting smart, but like on a weird, like I'm just forced optimism type thing. Like, kind of respected. Like, he came like charging at Jim Miller, which proved to be his downfall because that's how Jim Miller was able to counter one of the hardest left hands I've maybe ever seen land, especially if we're talking lightweight.
And then the uppercut he followed it with was disgusting.
Yeah, left hook, left uppercut. I mean, the left uppercut, he was like essentially unconscious on his knees, and it was like finish him, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, and Butler was out for a long time. It was a scary KO, low-key.
It was a scary KO. It was, I mean, I'm not one of those guys that like loves the word violence and like overuses it, but like I had a couple of retweets from the Twitter account. I texted the group chat. I was like, violence, all caps. It was gnarly. I mean, it was brutal, especially a guy making his debut. Jim Miller, though, absolute savage. He didn't seem to feel too bad about it. He was like, that's what happens when you throw a fucking, guy in here. I mean, he wasn't ready for the Jim Miller level. The Jim Miller level's a thing. Like, he's unranked, but like he's no slouch at all. I mean,
the way Bisping said it was hilarious too. He was like, made his debut, 2 days notice. Like, gave all these like reasons why Jim Miller should feel bad, and then Bisping was like, but it is what you signed up for in the sport, and he knew that when he signed up for it. And Jim Miller like was like nodding, and he like smiled after Bisping said it. And he was like, yeah, man, that's exactly right. Like, I mean, props to him for taking this fight, but yeah, when he stepped in here, I mean, I'm just doing my job. I was like, Yeah.
exactly. It's like if you have a bunch of quarterback injuries and Darius Slay is on the other side playing cornerback, he's not going to feel bad about like picking off this fucking practice squad quarterback. He's going to take that shit to the fucking crib.
Oh, you think you
Which
felt
is
bad when McCaffrey was playing quarterback against him in the NFC Championship game?
that's what
No.
exactly like that's just sports. That's competition. Like, hey, I got to play who's matched up against me, right? Like I can't like that's out like. Jim Miller had to fight whoever they put him in there with. And
Right, like sorry I'm better. You know what I mean? Like that's
he's
essentially
a
what
lot
you'd be
better.
saying. Is like sorry I'm just better.
And yeah, I mean Jim Miller, he's 1, 2, 3, 4-1 in his last five. He had that loss to Hernandez. Still at it, dude. I mean, I don't got a negative thing in the world to say about Jim Miller. It is tough because it's hard to talk about him fighting ranked opponents when in his last fight he lost to Hernandez, who's just outside the rankings. But like, let
What
me
a,
see. I just want to think. Grant, see, I see. Like Grant Dawson's ranked 15, and like that's a really tough fight for him. But
okay,
you know what? I
wait.
think it's an awesome fight. I might say the same thing, but I'll go ahead. I don't want to talk over you.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Matt Frivola, 14.
Oh
Peter. Okay.
no.
Oh,
I
somebody's
don't think
going.
Miller gets ranked opponents anymore.
But I'm just saying, like him and Matt Frivola is an awesome fight that like would result in a
I
finish and a bonus.
why not him and Patty? He'll strike with him.
Him and
It's
him and
names.
Patty,
They both sell.
him or Dover.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's great. Or Terrence McKinney even.
Like they're like lightweight has these guys that aren't ranked that like matter, are entertaining, are dangerous. Like all those guys we just listed all fall in that category.
Even
Like
Bobby
Patty to a
Green.
lesser extent. Bobby Green has a matchbook. Bobby Green, who's Bobby Green fighting? I'm curious now. Bobby Green has a fighting book. Who is it against? I gotta look it up. I'm sorry, it's my ADD brain. I can't fucking help it. Bobby Green is fighting somebody awesome. Tony Ferguson.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, but
That's kind of awesome.
if Ferguson loses, Ferguson Miller's a good fight.
Let's be real. It's over. But Bobby Green, Jim Miller's fucking awesome. Like honestly, I'm just not going to go there. If Tony Ferguson loses to Bobby Green, it's going to be by KO, and it's done. It's over. Like curtains closed.
Oh my god! All right, well we got to pick.
Oh my
out...
god, I'm so right.
Oh, you're brutal. You're brutal. Go ahead and introduce old fucking Bruce Leroy.
Actually, I'm sorry. I was going to kick it to you. I got to take a piss real quick. I don't know. We need a little intermission. We can take one. Sorry for those watching
No,
live.
I got you. I got you. So
All
we
right,
got.
all right. My bad. I'll be back.
Oh, you're good. We got all Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy. I'm just finding these odds. Here we go. Alex Caceres minus 220, stepping against Daniel Pineda, plus 180. This was one where it was a no bet for me. And I think the way the fight played out kind of shows that it wasn't a bad decision. But Caceres is ranked 15 at featherweight. So a lot of guys calling for that shot. I'm surprised Pineda got it. That being said, think he showed he deserved it at the same time. But also, I was pretty negative on Caceres' performance in this as well. So I'm kind of interested to see how you just perceived the fight as a whole.
Honestly, mirrored every take you just gave, with one kind of caveat. I did bet Caceres. I threw him in my parlay. It was one of those things where I've faded Caceres and regretted it. I've doubted Caceres and regretted it. And I guess I can look it up right now because I have Tapology pulled up. But what I'm getting at here is I remember distinctly in Caceres' last fight, we had a conversation about how, he's this gatekeeper, he's not that good, whatever, he's just good enough. And he just fights above that level. Let me see. It was against Julian Erosa. That's what it was. I think I bet Erosa. And he knocked out Erosa in the first round. And I was like, well, I'm kind of done doubting Caceres because I'm not saying Caceres is top 5, but he is top 15. Like he's probably the 15th best featherweight in the UFC.
Isn't it weird? Like he
Legit.
actually legitimately like cements the gatekeeper role.
Because like you hear guys like Chael and a lot of the older guys that go back in my day, it only went to 10. Why the fuck did we go to 15? Like Caceres is why. Like Caceres is the 15th best guy in the world.
Right.
If he fights up, he's gonna lose, and if he fights down, he's gonna beat whoever the fuck is gonna try to crack in. Like that's how I felt, and like it does end up being an uber close fight, and Pineda fought way better than I could have expected, and I think he put on a great performance. That being said, man, like I don't know, Caceres is like one of the he is literally the 15th best guy in the world.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's super crazy. Now, I think we all probably see this fight the same way. I'm not sure that. I mean, do you see it the same way the judges do?
Yep, 1,000%. What 1 and 3 for Caceres, 2 for Pineda.
Yep, me too.
Very easy to score. Each round had a clear winner. Now, granted, round 1, Caceres won. I mean, on everybody's scorecards, including mine. But Pineda did have that armbar attempt that seemed very fucking deep, and then. Like Caceres, when he was able to escape that,
deep. It was so deep.
Like it was like Volk Ortega-esque. I know I throw that out like every podcast, but like seriously,
Well,
like
they said it on the broadcast too.
Like whenever somebody gets out of a submission that they should not get out of, that's just called a Volk Ortega. Like that's where my brain goes with it. Because I mean Pineda. I mean I'm no jiu-jitsu guy, but like. Seemed locked in. Like, seemed like the sub was in. Like,
seemed very locked in. Now, Caceres did crack him at the end of the round and have him super wobbled to end the round. I almost thought that Caceres was maybe going to weasel out a finish in round 2 after he hurt him to end the round. However, Pineda recovered super strong and honestly came out, was throwing bombs in round 2, which once again made me think oh, he is still recovering. Like, he's trying to scare Caceres back. Essentially, it made Caceres throw bombs. Pineda was able to get that takedown, get him on the back.
He timed it good. He ducked under.
Exactly.
Got some good ground and pound damage off, too. Like, it wasn't just snoozy control. It was like 3.5 minutes of control, but the whole time was getting some damage off. Like, nothing insane. Like, it was never like, oh, this fight might get stopped, but just, like, got damage off on top.
Yeah, and Caceres finally was able to spin around in that body triangle at the very end of the round, but it was like 20 seconds, so it wasn't enough time for him to do enough damage, because it was still on the table for him to steal
but
that round.
Alone was, like, impressive, though.
I agree.
Every guy tries to do that, and very few are able to, like, spin around. He does have that slender waist, you know what I mean? Like,
very much
I'm sure
so.
He's a hard guy. Yeah, and he just fucking turned right around, and that was impressive. You're right. And then round 3, it was more of a stand-up fight. Those body kicks to the liver were like
they were hurting insane. Pineda, but was he playing? Was he playing possum on some of them or what?
No way! Fuck out of here with that Izzy ass excuse. No.
Well, because he would grimace and tuck back like he was hurt, and then as soon as Caceres would get close, he'd fire back. And I was like,
yeah, but that's like a wounded coyote in a corner fire back. Like he was hurt. But
usually we see a guy get hit in the liver like that, and we're like, oh fuck, and he gets touched there again, and he goes down. He got hit there 6 or 7 times.
I know, which I think is nothing more than Pineda being an absolute dog. Like seriously, like Pineda dog, respect, tough guy, tough son bitch, however you want to word it. But no, I think those were legit. I think the pain was legit. Because he would freeze up. He just wouldn't fall to his knees, which is I don't even know if it's called a mistake, but that's what a lot of fighters do. They fall to their knees, but he would freeze up. His hands would be down.
Mm-hmm.
I think low key Caceres would be waiting for him to fall.
Right. I literally think that was 2 or 3 of the times he was waiting. Is he gonna drop? Is he gonna drop? And then he'd be like, no. And he'd step forward. Then Pineda would start throwing fire at him.
Now, this is how my notes read for round 3. It was well on its way to a 10-8 for me as a guy who believed that the body kicks really were getting pretty close to ending the fight, and multitudes of them that kept happening. That being said, we're cruising to a 10-8, right? Not so fast, my friend Lee Corso. Pineda gets the knockdown at the end of the round, nowhere near enough to steal the round, but enough to steal the point. 10-8. Caceres, I mean, all judges are 10-9. Caceres, All judges saw it that way. So did you. But like, I almost had my 10-8 like penciled in. Knockdown changed it to a 10-9.
Oh yeah, I definitely had 10-8 on the way until that very end where that's what I'm saying about the possum thing is I'm like, how was Pineda able to do that at the end after eating that many liver shots? Just an
And this is
absolute dog.
We didn't mention Miller got performance of the night, like rightfully so. But see, this is where I disagree. This got fight of the night. I think there were better fights on this card, and I would have much rather seen Karine Silva get the bonus for that knee bar. I don't know. It was fight of the night. I get it. It was back and forth. It was close, but like,
how was the main event
really,
not fight of the night?
Because a lot of that fight was snoozy, in my opinion. But this was a great fight. This was an awesome fight. This was a fight that I enjoyed. I thought Santos Munoz could have potentially won fight of the night over this, and then who was it? Was it
Oh no, bro! Naimov and
Castaneda.
Yeah,
Naimov Castaneda. Give me that over Caceres and Pineda any day.
100%.
Round 3, it's not like it was competitive or like a banger. It was just like, how is Pineda still standing? Which is cool, but it's not like that's not fight of the night if he's not getting offense.
That's not how you should get fight of the night, at least.
I agree, bro. I don't know. But you agree with me. Castaneda Gafarov, like, give me that. Like, if I have to rewatch a fight right now,
yeah, 100%.
I'd rather watch Castaneda Gafarov.
100%.
So good win for Caceres. I mean, kind of weird matchmaking there. I think there's a lot of guys they could have given that fight to other than Pineda. Pineda's a little older. Maybe it was like one last crack at it. But, yeah, I don't know. Keep it pushing. I mean, I guess not. Let's talk Caceres real quick. He's 15. He just fought back. He's 1,000% better be fighting up next. Featherweight.
I want him to have the loser of the Ige fight.
Ige is taking on who's Ige fighting?
Oh God, it's next week. Nate Landwehr.
That's right, Nate the Train. Take on the.
Maybe the winner.
But it depends. I think it's one of the things. If Ige loses, he gets Caceres. But if
whoever
Train wins, he'll have to fight back probably because he'll probably get Ige's.
Well, 13. That's the same scenario though. Ige losing is Landwehr winning.
Either way, Caceres fights 13 next.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, but I'm saying if the loser, like if Nate Landwehr loses, I think that'd be weird matchmaking. Is why I made that.
Oh yes, different.
Yeah.
I agree.
So whoever gets that 13th spot.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see.
Ige retaining it or Nate Landwehr snatching it.
Right.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think those are awesome fights. I think Caceres Landwehr is fun.
And like you don't owe Ige any favors at this point. Like you've done so much, and he's Ige'd himself as we've created as a verb.
Yeah, it's like a verb now. Exactly, bro. But I'm gonna grab a long drink before this main event, and I can't wait to talk about it. Was highly controversial.
Yeah, perfect. I'll introduce it. So we got men's flyweights, number 3, Kai Kara France in a pick'em at -110 against number 7, Amir the Prince Albazi at -110 as well. If you listen to the UFC's little betting expert girl, Minty Betts, essentially a very good-looking Asian woman. I'm not saying that she's the worst or best bettor. I'm just saying that, she's a TV bet advisor for sure.
Yeah, she's not a radio bet.
Not a radio bet advisor. I can tell you that. Now that being said, she said that Kai Kara France at even money was like stealing, essentially. I almost tend to agree with her. However, I just had the weirdest Albazi feel all week, and I think you might have as well.
Yes, it was this weird thing where we've never seen anybody. We haven't seen Albazi fight anybody close to Kara France's level. I think his best win is Francisco Figueiredo.
Right.
But he's on a 5-fight win streak with 5 finishes of it, some Shavkat level shit.
Yeah, he just kills guys.
And when Kara France has struggled, it has been with grapplers. Very few. I don't think anybody's ever outstruck Kara France.
I mean, I would say Moreno didn't even outstrike Kara France. He just landed that body kick that ended it. You could say outstruck, but I mean Moreno was beat the fuck up by the time he landed that.
Yes. And I thought that, like, matchup wise, Albazi might be tough. Albazi had this kind of, like, I won't go as far as to say Hamzat or Shavkat, but like this, like, intriguing foreign. Nobody, he's been buzzing through everybody. Like, what does this look like against a top
Well,
10
and
or a
also
top 5 guy?
nobody's calling his name. Like nobody calls him out. That's usually a thing that tells me someone's real good.
Yes, 1,000%. So it's 7 versus 3 here. Literally, Vegas has it as a pick of -110, which shows you that Vegas is putting respect on Albazi's name. And it was like, how many times have we seen the grappler beat the striker? All those things were kind of factoring in to where I was like, now I put Albazi on a parlay, but it had already busted by the time the main event came around. And I really love the under 3.5, and here's why. Ends up not hitting, spoiler, whatever. But like, the reason why I love the under 3.5, I thought Vegas was telling us something. You hardly ever even see that as an option as 3.5. It's either 2.5 or 4.5. And flyweights, it's almost always 4.5, like almost always. And so I thought Vegas, even acknowledging the 3.5, was saying that like they thought it was going to be a finish.
Right.
And that could go either way in a -110 fight. That's why we end up getting a decision here, a highly controversial decision, but like I was kind of agreeing with Vegas. It's like, all right, you setting the line at 3.5 tells me that like you think it's going to be a finish. The finish is just as likely to come in rounds 2 or 3 as it is 4 and 5. So it's like, and I was getting +135. So it's like I feel like I'm getting a coin toss at better than coin toss odds. Give it to me.
Right.
Especially because I was so back and forth on who would actually win, which, I mean, split decision here, not pretty much saw that accurately. But good matchmaking, weird striker versus grappler matchup, and veteran versus prospect, if you will, high level prospect, but I think it could still be billed as that. So you can call it the coward's way out. I couldn't bring now on verdict. Like I said, I picked Albazi on a parlay. On verdict, I picked Albazi, but I couldn't. I like that under as kind of a cop out bet.
It's a weird defining spot where we've seen like lightweight guys, like we've seen like Gaethje fight back to 7, right, as number 3. We've seen guys do that plenty of times that are of like high profile names that have just come off a title run. But typically those guys are able to win that fight, and then they get to stay in that like top 5 hunt, and they only have to win 1, maybe 2 more at the craziest scenarios to get back in that picture. Now for Car France, that's kind of where they're putting him, and Albazi is the perfect guy to challenge him with because he is the next guy up. Like he deserves
I love the
matchmaking,
especially if we're talking flyweights, like flyweight division. We've talked about it already. It gets a little weird. These guys, flyweights love to pull out, probably because the weight cut's so brutal. But like flyweights pull out all the fucking time. Injuries, it's a weird division. So the fact that we were able to get a 3 versus 7 matchup at a main event that actually took place, I'm here for it. Because, I mean, flyweight matchmaking always starts out awesome. We'll have, 4 versus 6, and then somebody will pull out.
By the time we get there, it's 7 versus 10. Or
debut guy.
Yeah, or 6 versus like.
All Brazilian.
Yeah, 6 versus like the guy that's +600, and we're like, oh, okay.
That happens all the time at flyweight. So, like, the fact that we actually got this fight, like, and it was not to mention, it was supposed to be what, Allen versus who?
Hermanson.
Hey, I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't think so. Maybe it's a hardcore take, but like, give me Albazi Car France over Allen Hermanson any day. Especially for bigger weight classes, more
especially
cool type take.
I mean, flyweights, I'd rather almost see him at 5 rounds than middle or light heavies.
1,000%. 1,000%. And then also, like, listen, you could argue this was a number 1 contender fight. I mean, Figueiredo's kind of in flux right now. Doesn't know what division he's in. Pantoja's fighting Moreno for the belt. Car France has the loss to Moreno, so that rematch, I mean, that sells. Roy Val always hurt, but when he fights, he looks good. Nicolau, I think, just pulled out of a fight. So it's like,
I wouldn't mind Albazi Royval.
oh, I wouldn't mind it at all. And I think we'll get to that, but I think something like that's probably what's in the cards. That being said, round by round,
Oh, super
because
important.
we have one of the most controversial decisions in a while. Now, that being said, I want to get my take out of the way. I want to get out in front of this. I end up disagreeing with the decision, but I usually hate when people give this take, but I'm giving it. People always give oh, that wasn't a robbery, that was a close fight. And I usually hate that. My take this week. I thought there were 3 rounds that were essentially coin tosses. And, I mean, now 2 rounds had a clear winner. And if it was one championship, this fight has a clear winner.
I fully agree with that. I also think it's very odd that the coin would flip the same way pretty much all those times, and it didn't. I don't know if you've seen the judges' scorecards. Not one of them has the same scorecard.
And that's why I say it's not a robbery, because the first 3 rounds of this fight, like, subjective as all fuck. Let's get to it.
Okay, I can't wait till I tell you the scorecard.
I've seen it, but please, yeah, for the viewers,
Chris Lee's card is just, it's dumb. But let's get to it. So we'll talk about how we score it, and then so first round, I thought both guys had solid moments, kind of a feeling out round for sure. Neither guy really does the most damage. I kind of lean to Cara France. I think that might be the closest round of the fight, though, is one. I think it all comes down to how you score one, personally, for me. Just because there's not a whole lot to be judged there.
Yeah, you had Albazi with some cage control, and then at the start of the round, he had Cara France on his back foot. But like you said, really no damage for Albazi in one. Now, Cara France had the strike numbers in one, was defending the takedowns from Albazi, and I have it in my notes. He won the damage battle. I gave round 1 to Cara France. Close round.
I thought he slightly edged the damage and defended the takedowns.
Yeah, which Albazi was going for the takedown, and like. That's the thing. We've talked about it on this podcast ad nauseum, but like a failed takedown that results in snoozy clinch, like
shouldn't be rewarded.
It shouldn't be rewarded. It's different than like an effective tie clinch, or even like dirty boxing clinch.
Agreed.
Or framed elbows on the break clinch. Like I'm not hating on clinch. It's an integral part of mixed martial arts, and I'm a fan of it, and it can be awesome. But like. When you fail a takedown and end up in the clinch and don't do anything with the clinch, now you could argue it's tough to score for the guy who's being held against the fence, and I feel you, it is. But it's also like, I don't know, it's like, what was it, shoot for the stars, land on the moon? Like, you wanted a takedown, you didn't get it, you end up in this kind of consolation prize type position. And it's like I said, all right, it's one thing now transition to clinch fighting, right? Like if you start landing dirty boxing, landing clinch knees, framing some elbows, all right, then you made chicken salad out of chicken shit. You like turn that failed takedown into productive offense. That's not what we saw from Albazi. We saw a failed takedown result in snoozy clinch with no damage. Can't reward it, man.
I fully agree, man. Now, that being said, pushing to round 2, I do think that Albazi was having a little more success in the feet in round 2, but I really thought that like the last 30 seconds of the round was super important as well, and also and I never get to this, but octagon control I kind of had to bring up in this round.
See, round 2. So Albazi, let's just get this out of the way because this is a crux of every argument online, Twitter, whatever. Like the strike numbers. Favor Cara France 10 times out of 10 times. So if you're just going to use that as your argument and be a fucking Neanderthal, then we don't have a conversation to have here. But it's mixed martial art. Even in boxing, they don't go off purely numbers. It's not the PFL. Like, so the numbers kind of shove them up your ass in a way. But like, they're not nothing, but like, they're also definitely not everything. So I'm just going to kind of get out in front of that. And in round 2, Albazi lost the strike numbers. Surprise, surprise. However, I thought he landed the cleaner, harder strikes.
I thought the impact of his strikes was greater than the impact of Cara France's strikes, in my opinion.
in round 2 specifically.
Right.
You could argue that over
Right.
the course of the whole fight, maybe it's a broader stroke conversation, but round 2 in a vacuum, give me Albazi's like effectiveness and act. That's another part of the conversation. You are, and this is a numbers argument. But so all right, so Carl France won the like volume numbers, but Albazi in every round won the accuracy numbers, and with that accuracy came a power advantage. So it's not as clear cut as like strike numbers, CompuBox, PFL as scoring.
And I thought Albazi dictated where the fight was taking place for the most part, with the exception of not being able to get his takedowns. He was the guy walking Carl France down. He was the guy pressing him to the fence. I mean, almost all the
Even in the stand up,
right,
the forward pressure.
right,
Yeah,
almost all
which
the
we
action in
talked
round
about
2.
octagon control.
Yeah, that's kind of where I like started to derive my take from, was that like, yeah, Carl
I have
France had
pressure
the
in my
numbers,
notes.
but like the pressure and the impact of the strikes was definitely just outweighing what Carl France could muster to throw back.
So we're lockstep so far, which is dope because like, all right, so read the judges' scorecards to this point.
So Mike Bell and Chris Lee have the first round to Carl France. Saul D'Amato has it to Albazi. Then in round 2, Saul D'Amato again has it to Albazi.
You let me both.
Actually, all 3 judges have this round to Albazi. So we have 1 2018 for Albazi and 2 19.
I don't think anything crazy's happened yet, which is why like now
No.
round 4 gets a little wonky, but like the whole robbery, like I've seen people on Twitter talking about this is the worst robbery of all time, and I'll push back on that like a lot. Like,
oh yeah, no, definitely not.
We've seen way worse.
Because getting to round 3, I think round 3 is one of the more. It's the most clear Albazi round, in my opinion.
Ooh, see, I mean, now we're splitting hairs, like splitting hairs of hairs. Like, I think Albazi's round 2 more clear than round 3. I thought round 3 was a little harder to score. Purely, Carl France at the end of the round, the ground and pound elbows were gnarly. Like those weren't just like any elbows or pitter pat bullshit. Like that was like big damage. Like fight. Like you could argue the biggest, most damaging strikes of the entire 5-round fight took place at the end of round 3 for Carl France. Now, don't hear me out. I'm being devil's advocate here. I score round 3 for Albazi. No, I had a harder time scoring it because of that damage than in round 2. Because in round 2, Carl France never had any dominant moment like that.
Albazi almost gave you your under 3.5 here in this round. That rear naked choke was so deep. I mean, so deep. And as a guy that bet on it, I know your parlay didn't cash at that point, like you already knew. However, like, you know, just scumbaggery at work. Like sometimes it comes out. You're like tap.
Oh, bro, that's you verbatim. Like that's exactly what I was doing. I was full degenerate, like in my living room, like trying to will an outcome to happen. No, 1,000%, bro. I 1,000% was that rear naked choke. I mean, I have it in my notes. It was close in all caps. He had the back for most of the round, but like I said, Carl France elbows at the end of the round. You could argue, like if I ask you just lawyer ball, yes or no, in a vacuum question, like who won in the damage battle in round 3, you'd be hard pressed not to answer Carl France.
I would agree, but I just think that amount of control and like the position of control, like on your back with both hooks in, body triangle, and like my arms around your neck, like that does count for a lot to me. I know it's not near as much if there was extended damage, but it was such a short window of damage.
I agree with you. Like I said, my scorecard agrees with you. I'm just like trying to paint the picture here.
Right.
Yeah.
So all 3 judges have this one to Albazi. So,
which is wild. Like once again, like everybody's acting like this judging is we'll get to it. Round 4 is where the bad judging comes into play. But
Agreed.
Through the first 3, nobody's like out of line.
No, I agree with you, but I think this is where the problem comes: is that they've been seeing the fight the right way for the most part. So what happens in round 4?
What the fuck are we doing here in round 4?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you score round 1 for Carl France, you damn sure have to score round 4 for him.
I'll go that in front of it too. In rounds 4 and 5, I don't have the word close in my notes. I don't have the word coin flip in my notes. Like I thought round 4 and 5 had a clear winner.
I thought Carl France was putting it on Albazi. And Albazi by the 5th round was tired. You could tell like he just didn't have the same pace or energy.
The volume, the activity, The takedown defense, I mean, now one word I don't have in my notes is damage. Like Carl France was kind of, you could call it point fighting, whatever you want to call it.
He was getting a lot of body work in though too. That's hard to see in the 4th and 5th. Because if you do it early, it adds up.
No, you're right. I loved it. I mean, he had the better round. I'm just saying it's not like he was busting up Albazi or knocking him down or wobbling him or, knees to the head, elbows to the head. It was pretty much boxing and body kicks and just, like the less obvious type of damage.
So let me ask you this. So Mike Bell ends up scoring it identical to us, it sounds like. 1, 4, and 5 to Carl France, 2 and 3 to Albazi. Is that what you have?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Sal D'Amato has 1, 2, 3 to Albazi and 4, 5 to Carl France. I have no problem with that card. That card is...
Me neither.
I fully can see that.
Yes.
And 2 and 3, I can especially see it Albazi. So if you coin flip 1 to Albazi, it's like you didn't coin flip 3 rounds. Like, essentially, you coin flipped 1.
That's literally my scorecard. Like, you just described my scorecard.
Right. Now, the problem comes with Chris Lee, because if one judge didn't score round 1 for Carl France, but did score 4 for him, then the judge that scored 1 for him should obviously score 4 for him. Like, that shouldn't even be a question. So what Chris Lee was seeing, 1,000%. I have no fucking clue. He scores this at this point.
Like, what did Albazi do it for? Because, honestly, it was so one-sided. When a round's one-sided in my eyes, I don't give notes on the other side that lost.
Right.
Like, maybe that's a flaw in my note-taking strategy. But, like, I give notes on, like, what I'm seeing take place over a round, and I saw a whole lot of Carl France success, so that's what my notes dictate. I don't even have notes for what Albazi did in round 4 because in my eyes he wasn't doing dick.
I'll tell you, Albazi didn't get a takedown the whole round after trying.
No.
And Carl France almost got his own takedown, in which one that I would have considered a takedown if Albazi hadn't held the whizzer in. So for me, it was like, well, Albazi didn't do anything, so Carl France almost by default with the volume has to win this round.
Yeah. 1,000%. Like, Albazi really didn't do dick in round 4, and I'll kind of die on that hill. Like, as a guy who bet on Albazi,
more than the other round, like 5's the round where Carl France did his most damage, and that's not even it's not a lot, but it's his most of any round.
Yes, and round 5, that's where we get to, like, if this is one championship, this isn't even a conversation.
Yeah,
like,
it's clearly
like Carl France
won
the fight. Like, was beating up Albazi. Albazi in round 5, I'll even bust out the word futile. Like, Albazi just had nothing for Kai.
I agree.
Nothing for it. Like, really had zero success in round 5. Like, and I think every judge agreed with that. So once again, we're talking about one judge's view of one round. It was really bad. But like some of the hot takes I've seen on Twitter as far as like worst robbery and all that, we're talking one judge's one round. Because, like I said, rounds 3, round 1, you're not crazy regardless of how you see it.
Here's all I'll say.
Chris Lee, round 4, out of fucking line.
Yeah, super out of line. Here's what I'll say. Vegas's live odds with 30 seconds to go in the fight had Kai
like minus 400, right?
Minus 400, now Albazi plus 310. So you're telling me Vegas is that unsure?
Shout out to whoever was fucking sipping one at the bar.
Yeah.
And was able to get that one in for Albazi. Like, my scorecard has it as a coin flip. I'll take plus 310.
Like, this is close. Just starts hammering 310s. I mean, I feel it. Now,
I'm going to Vegas on a Sunday, bro. I'm going to miss the fights. I'm going to watch the card. I'm going to Vegas on a Sunday. It's just how it worked out on my work schedule and shit.
For my birthday at the end of June. Some scumbag contender series bets in.
Something, bro. Something. I got a live bet something while I'm there.
Bet on the A's. You know the A's will get behind and then come back.
Fade the A's? No,
yeah,
fade the A's.
I was going to say, yeah, they're yeah.
I never bet baseball in a day in my life, but as an A's fan, this season, I'll bet my rent money against them. Jesus.
Fade the A's. All right, now let's get into the fallout because Albazi calls for a title shot.
Well, hold on. So we get 48-47s for Albazi, 148-47 for Carl France, split decision, and we've gone over it ad nauseum. Like round 4, Chris Lee, really what it all comes down to, which is a goddamn shame. Because, like I said, even the scorecard that we disagree with, second one, the middle 48-47, isn't out of line. It's just how you arrive there.
even Kenneth scored 1, 4, and 5 to Car France. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, Verdict did. Like I said, rounds 1 and 3 were close as fuck, but I think everybody pretty much saw it the way we saw it for the most part. I mean,
I agree. Now, I think with that, Dana always takes things like that into consideration, right? So, like, I think Car France
yes.
still gets like a juicy matchup, like it probably a Nicolau. You know what I'm saying? And then,
Or a Roy Val, yeah, one of those for sure.
and I think Albazi doesn't necessarily get like a super hyped up match, right? So, what I mean when I say that is that I don't think he's going to get like a Pantoja or a Figueiredo. Like, I think he has to fight probably a Royval. Like, I think he gets 3 and has to fight back against 4. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're not crazy for that take. Man, Makayev is both good and cringe on Twitter because he inserts himself into conversations like this. And it means less when he did it for Elliott and he did it for Albazi. He was going after everybody. And it's like, Makayev Albazi works for me, bro. Especially if you do it like in Abu Dhabi, which is what he was calling for. Like two like Muslim fighters, that part of the world. That's main card shit, bro.
And they both speak
like
English really well.
They both speak English well. They're both people from like the Muslim world that traveled west for their like training and like shit like that. And I gotta say, we haven't mentioned it yet. Albazi's story coming from Iraq, like he grew up as a child, like all
In
those
the Iraq
CNN
War.
highlights that we saw of cruise missiles, like we're hitting this like Albazi's neighborhood, bro. Like this guy's an absolute dog. Like I love Albazi's story. I love how he's been able to transition kind of into like a Western style life, but still has his roots. Like Albazi, like everybody's hating. He's public enemy number 1 right now, and I understand why. But like, I'm not necessarily out on Albazi. Like sometimes some shit falls your favor, and like now his lack of ability to get a takedown was a little concerning because all these top guys can defend takedowns at least as well as Car France, if not better. Like Moreno, like you know what I'm saying. So
Perez,
and he kind of proved that he couldn't strike with the top flight striker. But I'm saying, regardless, coming from the slums of Iraq, getting cruise missiles landed next door to you, to fucking top 4 in the world or whatever you are, like I don't know. It's hard for me to like. The whole world's hating on Albazi right now. I'm not. I scored the fight for Car France, and I don't love Chris Lee's round 4, but like I'm not like out on Albazi. I'm not like mad at Albazi. I'm mad at Chris Lee, whatever, round 4, but like. I think we need to separate the two. He's catching a lot of shit right now.
So let me tell you why I want to see the Prince take on the Raw Dog. It's because Royval isn't the best at defending takedowns, is fun on the feet, but is super slick off his back. And that's the perfect matchup against a guy like Albazi, who isn't the best on the feet and wants to get a takedown and wants to be on top, but isn't necessarily the best on top.
Yeah, and I forgot Car France lost to Royval.
Right,
though.
yeah.
So, like, I don't know, that rematch makes a lot of sense with some steam on it. Like, that's a main event, too, you know what I mean? But, yeah, no, Flyweight, I love Flyweight. Like, I think I like it more than the average UFC fan. Like, I think all these top 5 guys are, like, kind of interchangeable, which I get. I'm kind of like arguing against myself here. That's why the division's viewed how it's viewed, because like outside of Moreno and Figueiredo, then you have everyone else.
Which is why we've seen that fight 4 times. There's probably a good stack of 7 guys right below them that can all fight with each other, and that are getting closer.
They're all
to
so good.
Figueiredo.
And this proved it. Because another reason why I bet the under 3.5 on this one was because I thought one of 2 things was going to happen. Either Albazi wasn't as good as we thought he was, pieced up by a top flight guy like Car France, or Car France's grappling gets exposed and like Albazi's this like Hamzat-esque 125er. Neither of which ended up being true. And like what we just talked about, like 3 through 7 is interchangeable. I won't use the word interchangeable mediocrity. So I think it's like interchangeable, like they're all top 3 good.
I agree. No, I agree, man. That's So it makes flyweight very interesting, and like moving forward, the UFC needs to use that to market. Now that all being
Yeah,
said,
like they spin it as a downside when it could easily be spinned as a positive. Like,
they
oh, the
just
most competitive division in the UFC. That's how you word it. They always talk about lightweight, the most star-studded division in the UFC. Welterweight, the hardest division in the UFC. Heavyweight, the premier division of the UFC. Flyweight, all you got to do is the closest, most competitive, the most cutthroat division in the UFC. All it takes is one promo, spinning it that way. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, they're not going to invest in it. Now, here's what I want to ask you: Is are you going to invest in this pay per view next week? And I know the answer is yes, but it's a
Dude, I'm
sparse
such a
pay per
mark.
view.
Oh, it's weak.
Now,
It is weak.
I mean, Nunes minus 330 against Aldana. That fight's kind of fun. Not the
Yeah,
most.
I'm about to say it's probably a no bet for me because, and I know this has like nothing to do with each other. It's like reading the previous roulette hits and thinking it has something to do with your next roulette hit. It doesn't, but that's the mark I'm going to be right now. Like Grasso beating Shevchenko, if that never happens, I'm like, oh, parlay builder, throw Nunes on it. I don't know what this you want to call it, but like somehow my brain is like equating that with this. Grasso beating Shevchenko is the same thing as Aldana beating Nunes. I mean, they train at the same gym, both Mexican. I mean, it's not like I'm pulling this out of my ass here, but like, you see what I'm saying here? Like, to me, it's a no bet, or maybe there's an over under
I think
that
the
we
under.
like, or
I think
maybe
the
a
under's the money.
prop. But like, what I'm saying here is like, if Grasso never beats Shevchenko, I'm like, oh, dude, yeah, it's fucking, oh, that's value. That's a parlay builder. But like, that has directly impacted my views of Aldana and Nunes, and I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, everybody, I gotta pee again, but just run with those takes.
I think the juiciest number is Charles Oliveira at plus 125 against Dariush. I, I I know it's crazy, but plus money on Oliveira is like so hard to walk away from. And then, I mean the prelim, the featured prelim, Imavov minus 145, Chris Curtis plus 125. That's super interesting either way you go. But overall, like, and I mean, you have Dan Ige minus 260, Nate Landwehr plus 210. That's about all the names on this card. The power bar fights are Eric Anders. I love power bar in that fight because I literally think the third round goes to him. I think he starts to overtake him in the second. And then we already talked about Malott and Fugit, and I'm not going to give him more time.
What are the odds on Fugit?
Mallett's
What's the
minus
number?
210. I think that's a juicy number to hit.
Yeah, that's parlay builder all day. Sorry, I'm coming back. Sorry for the delay. Yeah, I just gave my thoughts on the Nunes Aldana value. Like that's like you said. What's the under set at? Can you look that up? Is it 4.5? Is it if it's under 4.5? I like it a lot.
Let's see.
And I'll be real. And while you're looking that up, I'll counter your Oliveira Dariush take. I feel you, and I'm gonna go the opposite way. My knee-jerk reaction was like, "Oh, plus money on Oliveira." Fuck yeah! By the way, I also did that against Makachev. Plus money on Oliveira. It's there for a reason. Oliveira leaves his chin out. We've seen it in every fight. He gets cracked. Dariush's power is nuts. Oliveira will accept bottom position. Dariush is great from top position. I am going to go the other way and throw Dariush in a parlay. And I think the minus 120 on Dariush, minus 130. What is it?
Plus minus 150.
I'll take that, especially in a parlay, maybe like a two-legger, Dariush two-legger. I don't know. The fan in me with you that Oliveira plus money, like so good, champion quality, but I think he matches up very poorly with Dariush. I think Dariush maybe gets a knockdown. I mean, maybe it looks pretty similar to the Makachev fight, to be honest. Like gets a knockdown and then finishes it with a sub, or like Oliveira, man, he just be getting cracked too hard on the feet, and Dariush's power is real.
I agree. No, I agree. Yeah, there's no props out. The Best Fight Odds isn't updated with this card yet, so pretty
No,
much
you're good.
is what it is.
Mallet, parlay builder. Like Darius Mallet two-legger is pretty goddamn nice. You're gonna get a decent return there. The group chat's been disagreeing with me. Leave me in the comments below what your thoughts on this take are. Like, I am so bullish on Landwehr. Probably has a lot to do with me fading Ige. But, like, I think Ige's best days are behind him. We literally have turned his fight IQ into a verb. Like, he makes bad decisions and finds ways to lose fights. Landwehr's cardio and chin is nuts. Give me Landwehr, bro. Like, plus 260? Bro, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
plus 210.
Like, still. Like, that's wild to me, bro. If you want to give Ige minus 140 because he's a vet and he's higher ranked, like, sure, I'll hear you out. But thinking that Ige is 2-1 over Landwehr, fuck out of here, bro. Like, maybe this will be on Cold Takes Exposed, or next week I'm busting out my spoon to eat shit. But my chest is so far out on this Landwehr take. I'm sorry, bro. Like, I feel strongly about it. Like, I really do. And I'm right. I'll put my money where my mouth is. Like, I'm not just running my mouth.
Word. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have some bets for this one, too. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in watching it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I totally agree with your Barrialt take. Like, I'm super out on Anders fading the skill set. Now, Barrialt's getting older, but Anders will strike with him, and Barrialt's a way better striker, and Barrialt's striking defense is not going to get caught by some sloppy linebacker bomb from Anders. I'm sorry, that ain't happening. Is Dvorak Schnell actually happening?
No.
It looks like it got scrapped.
On ESPN there, they have it listed as someone else.
Like all these flyweights. What's your thoughts on Dawkins Roundtree?
It's scrapped already. Bro, it's not on there.
Fucking shitting me?
There's only 11 fights. This card sucks. Yeah, the fight I named almost every fight with a name you'd know.
All right. This one's still happening, and I honestly don't know how I feel. Curtis Amavov. It's one of those things. I think I agree with Vegas. Like, I slightly edge Amavov. Like, not because like Curtis could win. Like, could definitely catch him. Could definitely win the damage battle, but Amavov's style. He probably clinches him, grapples him, right? I mean, I know he strikes too, but if he's smart, if it's a kickboxing match, give me Curtis. But like, I think of like minus 130 on Amavov. That's about how I'm seeing it. Like, I probably a no bet.
Yeah,
maybe a, like, goes to decision prop or some shit like that.
Yeah, I like the over in that one because I don't think either guys will be too dangerous.
Yeah, the over / like goes to decision prop, or if you do. If you're watching at home and you're like, oh, I disagree, I think Curtis wins, like the by decision prop or the Amavov by decision prop, squeeze that value because I think it's a decision probably. Now, obviously, I've been wrong on that before, but yeah, just an evenly matched fight, stylistic. I don't think you see either guy getting the other one out of there. What is the name Blake Builder ring for me? Why is that?
He has one fight in the UFC and he's off Dana White contenders. I'm telling you, man, there's nothing else that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from a betting perspective, fading Maverick on a Yanni Sprinkle, like a couple bucks fading Maverick, I might talk myself into it just because I'm kind of think Maverick's overrated. I think that money line's inflated. Yeah, man, weak card. I'll buy it. Only for the fact is, like, I'm not like I streamed. What did I stream? I streamed the Tank Davis Garcia fight. Like, I'll admit it. Fucking come sue me. But like, what I'm getting at is here. It was a pain in the ass. Even in that, I had to find like 3 different streams, and I missed a little bit of the fight, and it was kind of a pain in the ass. And
I think this card's going to be so lowly bought that it won't be so heavily guarded against. I've found that to be true. Like, the bigger the pay-per-view, the harder it is to get a good stream.
Yeah. Also, the opposite could be true, though. Like, if there was less people watching it, it might be easier to bust the stream.
No. I remember this. I remember last year there was a card that we literally told people, do not buy it. It can't be worth your money. And I streamed that beautifully in HD.
Well, and, like, that's why I think the whole Apex argument you lose. Because here's my argument. Instead of the Apex argument, because guess what? The Apex cards are free. I'm sorry. I'm the type of person, if you give me a free meal and it's not my favorite meal, I'm not going to complain about it, right? Like, that's just me. Like, I'm not going to spend my energy bitching about Apex cards because, hey, they're free. But you raise the price on pay-per-views to 80 fucking dollars, and then you're giving us this horseshit. Like, that's my bigger beef. Hey, give me a bullshit ass free Apex card, whatever. Sure. $80 for this. That's my beef.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think that's about it for episode
Yes,
132.
sir. Wraps it up, man. Appreciate your time, brother. Check out some other videos. We never miss a card, never miss a fight. One of the only shows out there going over the prelims as well. Give us a subscribe. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yes, sir.